Jordan, I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to be here, especially after that video right there.
I am amped.
Same. Hey, Jordan, do you by any chance take some photos?
Oh yeah, I take photos like this.
Hashtag TEDxYouth ideas.
Use it.
Well, that was kind of a pointless selfie. But what'll ever come out of that? Like,
I don't know. Are you saying that my hashtag TEDxYouth ideas picture will not be around?
I don't know, maybe. It was a little bit of a pointless selfie, but there's some photographers that have an emotional connection to their photos. And here to talk about that is our first speaker. Please welcome Armaan Ahmed from the Miami Vice School.
All right.
Thank you.
There are 3,215 photos taken every single second throughout the world. My name is Armaan Ahmed, and I'm a street photographer. So what differentiates me from everybody else? First of all, let me define street photography for you. Street photography is photography of ordinary people in ordinary places, but in an unfamiliar environment. And to quote Wikipedia, street photography does not necessitate a street or even an urban environment, end quote. Street photography basically makes the ordinary extraordinary. First and foremost, everybody today is a photographer. Anybody can pick up his or her phone and snap a photo. So me, as a photographer, I need to separate myself from everybody else. And I found that my best work is street photography. So to give you some examples of street photography, here's some of my best work. This is a photo I took in Madrid, Spain, of an elderly couple. It was an El Rostro market. And El Rostro Market's the largest Sunday market in Europe. So when you're there, it's super crowded. You're touching everybody shoulder to shoulder with your backpack in front of you because El Rostro Market's infamous for pickpocketers. And while I was there, I saw an opening in this gigantic crowd, so I immediately went to investigate. What I found there was an elderly couple playing music. The wife was singing and the husband was playing the accordion. The man's face was pure joy. What I found most amazing about this photo was how perfectly they matched pitch and beat. When I asked if I could take their photo, they happily said yes. What I liked about this photo was how it captured the man's facial expression, because it's a pure representation of his personality. This is a photo of a Navajo Native American elder named Don. Don took me and my family around this part of Navajo Nation, which is the largest reservation in the entire United States. It's the size of West Virginia, and it encompasses 4 states. And while Don was showing us around this part of Navajo Nation, he was telling us the story of his disappearing native language. It's widely known that Navajo is the second most difficult to learn language behind Mandarin. In fact, in World War II, Navajo code talkers were enlisted by the US Marines against Japan. Don was telling us about his disappearing native language and how he was trying to help it. So what he did is he taught at local Navajo schools for 34 years, just teaching Navajo language. And eventually, his efforts were so successful that he teamed up with Rosetta Stone and made a software for Navajo. And now, kids at Navajo schools learn their language via Rosetta Stone. I like this photo just because how I blurred the background just enough so that you can see it's in Monument Valley, Utah, but it doesn't take away from the importance of Don himself. Both of these photos I have an emotional connection to. In the first, I can feel that moment in time, the atmosphere, the music. And in the second, I can feel that Don's boldness and grace, how powerful he was in saving his own native language. My hope is to communicate my feelings of photography through the photo to all of you. Last year, over the summer, I went to Tokyo, and when I was there, I went to Tsukiji Fish Market. Tsukiji Fish Market is the largest fish market in the world. And when I was there, I wound in and out of this inner market, avoiding all different types of trucks and vendors. And I also learned that each and every person at Tsukiji Fish Market has their own specialty job. So for example, there would be a person there selling shiitake mushrooms that had been selling them his whole life. And there would be certain restaurants that would only buy from that one vendor. as was with this man I met named Haruma. Haruma had been skinning and filleting eels for 21 years in the same exact place. He could skin and debone a whole eel in something like 10 seconds or something crazy like that. But what I found most amazing about him was how much pride he took in his own craft and how well respected he was. Because an average day at this man's life is much more to us. I didn't like the artificial light in this photo, but I did like how it captured Haruma's intensity and how it froze in otherwise a busy moment in time. This next photo was taken in Yellowstone National Park. Over this past summer, I went to a National Geographic photography camp, and when I was there, on assignment, we went to a rodeo on the 4th of July. A rodeo on the 4th of July. It was probably the most American thing I've ever done. But when I was there, I spent most of my time outside of the actual rodeo arena because there were so many interesting people there, as was these kids. I met them and they talked about everything from their parents to their summers to the upcoming school year. I talked to them for about half an hour, and while it doesn't seem like a lot of time, it is when you're talking to a bunch of 10-year-olds, trust me. And when I was talking to them, I eventually mustered up the courage to ask for their photo. And at first they said no, because their parents weren't along, which I can understand. But then I convinced them, and finally they said yes. They all posed and smiled like a regular family portrait, but I didn't take their photo then. I took their photo a split second after they were done with that, just to make the photo look more natural, and less like your average family portrait. Apparently the kid on the right didn't like me that much. Each photo is taken differently, in technique, settings, and approach. So for example, the photo of the couple in Madrid and Haruma in Skiji Fish Market, I didn't get to directly interact with the subjects of the photo. So the photo was taken from a more observer's perspective. But for the other two photos, the photos of Dawn and the kids at the rodeo, those photos were taken from a more intimate perspective because I got to learn each and every one of their their stories. Photography is just a medium for a photographer to communicate his or her feelings through the photo to you. So if you are a photographer, you have to create an emotional connection with the viewers. You see, all these photos are extremely important to me, but my mission is to make these photos important to you. Lastly, to quote Elliot Erwitt, photography is the art of observation. It's about finding something interesting in an ordinary place. I have found it has little to do with the things you see and everything to do with the way you see them. Thank you. And just one more thing. If you want to find out more about my photography or me in general, you should go follow me on Instagram. Just my first and last name plus piano. So thank you.